Welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. At present, we are studying Love4Love, the life and works of Saint Teresa of Jesus, as written by Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, better known as Edith Stein. So we are currently on Chapter 10. In Chapter 9, we looked at the different forms of supernatural prayer that Teresa was experiencing, and Chapter 10 is entitled New Tests sent from God. So the first difficulty arose from her own ignorance of mystical theology. In Teresa's deep humility, she could not imagine how an unworthy person, as in her opinion she was, could be so richly laden with extraordinary favors. Of course, as long as the favors during prayer lasted, she could not doubt their authenticity. But in between, she was plagued by fears that these mystical states were deceptions of the devil. On the basis of her experience, Teresa later said, again and again, how necessary it is for a soul that is going the way of the interior life to have the guidance of a learned and enlightened spiritual director. In her case, at that time, it was Father Vincent Barron. But he left, and he was her father's director. And he had so charitably stood by her after the death of her father, but he had been called away from Avila some time earlier. So in her need, upon the advice and through the mediation of a dear friend, the pious nobleman Francisco de Salcedo, she turned to Gaspar Daza, a priest who was considered throughout the city to be as holy as he was learned. His evaluation was devastating for Teresa. He interpreted all of her favors during prayer as deceptions of the devil and advised her to cease entirely what she had been doing up to now. Teresa fell into the utmost distress, showered by favors from heaven, while at the same time, according to the theological expert, in the gravest danger, and directed to pull back from the supernatural influences. There appeared one more way out of her distress. A short time earlier, a college of the Society of Jesus had been started in Avila. Teresa, who had the greatest admiration for this new order, heard this with joy, but up to now had not dared to speak with one of the greatly renowned fathers. Now she took refuge in them, and this was, for her, a deliverance. Father Juan de Pradanos completely reassured Teresa about the origins of her mystical states, and he advised her to continue on her path. He only found it necessary that she make herself worthy of the favors by strict mortification. As she said, mortification was at the time a word virtually unknown to her. But with her characteristic decisiveness, she took up with her weak health the suggestions, and she began to accustom herself to severe penances. She recognized, though, that her weak health would not be able to stand such a severe life. Father Pradanos easily helped her with this. Without doubt, my daughter, he said, God sends you so many illnesses in order to make up for those mortifications that you do not practice. So, Teresa, do not be afraid. Your mortifications cannot hurt you. And in fact, Teresa's health improved because of this new lifestyle. Amen. So, no matter how far along you go in this on the spiritual path, it seems there's always these tests, and Teresa was no exception. Even though she had arrived at the seventh mansions, a spiritual marriage, the tests continued for her. So we will continue with this chapter, and I hope that this article is blessing you and yours. So until we meet again, amen.